Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, folks on YouTube at Radio Don 1, folks on Prism Live, Radio Don 55, and hmm, I think Periscope's on. I don't know, but we'll find out. Good morning, everybody. Um, so, crap just hit the fan, folks. A few moments ago, before I pushed send, the stock market suspended trading for a few minutes. Um, the stock market fell about 15% or so from the opening bell about an hour and a half ago. When that happens, they have what they call a circuit breaker, which means that trading is suspended for a few minutes to have everyone sort of like gather their senses and things like that. Then trading resumes, and if it falls below 20%, then trading is suspended for the rest of the day. By the way, I think 25% was the threshold back in 1929 that started the Great Depression, and we are now going from in 10 days, 10 business days, we've gone from a roaring bull market to a bear market. And all this can be blamed in great part on the coronavirus and our lack of response to that. Last night, and yeah, I am a very critical person when it comes to President Trump. Is the time when a president has to stand up and at least act like he had confidence, act like he had, everything together. And he didn't. He was, as Keith Jackson would say, stumbling, bumbling through that speech. I mean, if you saw it, and I'm going to post it today when I can get my power back here. I'm going to post it today. You take a look at it. You tell me how you felt about this president and how he performed last night. There was not one confident critique of that, not one positive critique of his performance last night. It was probably one of the worst presidential speeches I have ever heard. And Donald Trump does have the ability to put out a confident and competent speech. He's done that before. When you're talking with the teleprompters and things like that. But this performance reminds me of that part in the movie Little Big Man when General Custer was planning his final attack, and he was as stumbling and bumbling as this president. And if you saw the movie Little Big Man, you know exactly what happened. That speech was the culmination of a lot of crazy stuff. Last night, right after the speech, one NBA player was diagnosed as having COVID-19. That led to the NBA temporarily suspending all play. In other words, this is just a temporary thing. They'll get back to things when they can, and then they'll figure out, games and stuff like that and how the season's going. Then, a few minutes after that, we find out that Tom Hanks and his lovely wife, Rita Wilson, both tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, they are in Australia. He was about to do a movie for Warner Brothers. He's self quarantining himself right now in Australia. So this happened in Australia, not here. And Warner Brothers issued a statement, blah, 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 blah. Baseball season's coming up. Yesterday, I would say, the NCAA said, yeah, we're going to play the March Madness games next week, but we are going to play them without fans. There will be no fans in the stands except for maybe family and friends and stuff like that. It's going to kind of look like an XFL game. And this followed the decision by many television shows such as Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune and all of the late night talk shows to not have their programs with audiences. And we've already posted on our social media sites a video that showed a baseball game that did not have any fans in it. This was the situation 5 years ago in Baltimore after riots that were generated by a police shooting. We're going to have that. Don Geller on YouTube, who is pretty much a great chronicler of all things David Letterman, has posted both, and I've been waiting for this for a long time, both David Letterman programs that did not have an audience because of Hurricane Sandy, and of course, Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show page still has the introduction to the program where they did not have an audience because of Hurricane Sandy. So you can pretty much get a good feel about how those shows are going to look like when they start taping next week with no audiences. All of that has happened in the last 48 hours. And then on top of that, we find out that the latest person to be sent home from the Masked Singer was Sarah Palin singing "Baby Got Back." This is the life I'm living, folks. Now, as for me, I'm all right. I am not sick. I'm doing well. This area is it's doing pretty well here in Canoga Park, California. But we've also had predictions by some high-ranking muckety-muck in the CDC or someplace that said that we're going to have, by the end of this, up to 150 million people who will have some form of the coronavirus. Damn. Now here's the thing. Two things that you need to be before. Now, in every situation, they said, yeah, we've gone through something like this before, but this is worse. This is worse. This is a pandemic. Excuse me. But, it turns out to be we live through it. We live through it. We go through it all the time. And there is an indicator that we're going to go through this, because in China, where this whole thing started, the number of new cases has dropped to single digits. And that is key, because what's happening is that things are getting back to normal in China where it started. So basically, we are looking at the possibility that we are going to have to live through this thing for the next 3 months. If you can take that as an indicator. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen. I am definitely not a source of great information. I'm just giving my opinions here. As I said the last time, you can download the CDC app from the Play Store and the iPhone store, and you can get the latest information through that. Also, check the coronavirus 411 app. It's not an app. It's a podcast, and you can find those where you find all your favorite podcasts. So right now we are looking at pretty much the beginning of the crash of 2020. I'm not going to talk about politics here because that's another podcast. But I just wanted to get on this morning and talk to you about this. I probably ramble worse than the president, but this is what I have to deal with. And yes, I'm scared. I've been putting up a brave face on social media for the last few days, but quite frankly, yes, I am scared a little bit. When people start talking about the possibility that the people, as many as 150 million people could wind up getting this, which means up to 150 million people could die from this, yeah, it gets scary. And I'll tell you a personal story. Several years ago, I was in Van Nuys, California, and I really fell sick. And I don't know whether or not it was the swine flu or whatever it was, but I was laid low. I just sat down on a bus bench and I could not get up. I've never felt as sick as I did that day. I mean, I really started thinking that this was going to be my end. Thankfully and obviously, I recovered from that. So I can understand the fear. And fear makes you do crazy things. I have seen people coming out of the CVS here with handfuls of toilet paper because they're afraid that they may be stuck in a house for 3 weeks and go through a lot of toilet paper. And I've seen the gouging and things like that. But here's the thing. I survived that. You will survive this. What we needed last night was a president who could say forcefully that we will survive this. We did not have that president last night. It's going to be rough for the next few months. But we will make it through. I believe that we will. And I'll try to be on it as much as I can and talk to you about this. Even if I'm talking to myself, at least there's going to be a record. So, if you're watching this on Periscope, you can go to POLYBI, the number 2, and follow us on Twitter. I'll have to approve you, but don't worry about that. I'm doing that for my own personal mental health protection. I've been catfished before in the last week or so So that's why I'm doing that. Follow us on Facebook at DLP Radio. That's where all these things on YouTube wind up. And you can follow us on YouTube as well by going to Radio Don, the number one. And we're now starting to do things on Twitch. So you can go there and you can subscribe to me there, and any support you can give through Amazon, I really would appreciate it. That's it. We're done. I've talked too long. Talk to you later. Goodbye.